What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 12 Thanksgiving games.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for this Thanksgiving slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, so the Steelers-Ravens game has been moved to Sunday, so we now have a 2-game Thanksgiving slate. So I'm going to go over each position, recap my picks from yesterday, and give you a new pick that I like given this is now a 2-game slate. Okay, so at the quarterback position, yesterday I picked Deshaun Watson and Alex Smith, but don't forget about Matthew Stafford from the Detroit Lions playing the Houston Texans, who have the 4th worst defense overall, and they give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford has averaged 17.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 2.1 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 15% owned, so he's going to be one of the lower owned quarterbacks here. It looks like Deshaun Watson coming in at 60% owned, Matthew Stafford at only 15% owned. He's projected at 17.8 fantasy points here on Thanksgiving, and he's $5,800 DraftKings salary and $1,400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 51 points scored in this game, and they have the Lions trailing by 3. So fantastic matchup, high scoring game, and a passing game script. We'll have to keep an eye on the injury to their running back, DeAndre Swift, and we know Kenny Golladay is out, but they still have capable pass catchers in Marvin Jones Jr., Marvin Hall, and TJ Hawkinson. So plenty of firepower through the air. So because of the low ownership and the great matchup, I like Matthew Stafford here versus the Houston Texans. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. Yesterday I gave you Ezekiel Elliott and DeAndre Swift. So Duke Johnson has the best running back matchup on the slate. The Detroit Lions give up the most fantasy points versus opposing running backs, but he hasn't really done that well the last couple of weeks, only scoring 7 and 5 fantasy points. So I'm going to have my share of Duke Johnson, but the running back I like a little bit more here on Thanksgiving is Antonio Gibson from the Washington football team playing the Dallas Cowboys, who have the 3rd worst defense overall, and they give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Antonio Gibson has averaged 15 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 11.9 rushes per game and 3.2 pass targets per game. He scored 17, 23, and 14 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's going to be about 37% owned, projected at 15 fantasy points here on Thanksgiving. He's $6,000 DraftKings salary and $800 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 46 points scored in this game, with the Washington football team trailing by 3. So he's got a fantastic matchup. This is going to be a close, competitive game. The Washington football team should be able to move the ball on the Dallas Cowboys, so Antonio Gibson should get some goal line carries. So I like Antonio Gibson here versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. Yesterday I gave you Terry McLaurin and Marvin Jones Jr., but if you're looking to save some salary at this position and go with a lower ownership play, take a look at Marvin Hall from the Detroit Lions playing the Houston Texans, who have the 4th worst defense overall, and they give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Marvin Hall, he scored 5, 14, and 6 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 3, 3, and 5 pass targets. So I guess you could say this would be a sleeper pick because he's only going to be about 11% owned, projected at 8.6 fantasy points here on Thanksgiving, and he's only $3,900 DraftKings salary and $1,200 more on FanDuel. So we got a high-scoring game, a passing game script, and a fantastic matchup, and this is a low ownership play that's going to make your lineup different. So I like Marvin Hall as a high-risk, high-reward pick here versus the Houston Texans. Okay, let's take a look at the tight end position. Yesterday I gave you TJ Hawkinson and Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is still my favorite play on the slate at only 16% ownership. He's got 6, 7, and 8 pass targets in the last 3 games, and he scored 13, 9, and 11 fantasy points. And he's got a great matchup versus the Washington football team that gives up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. But if you're looking for another low salary tight end that's got some upside here, take a look at Logan Thomas from the Washington football team playing the Dallas Cowboys, who have the 3rd worst defense overall, and they give up the 12th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Logan Thomas has averaged 7.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.6 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 88% of the snaps, so he has the highest snap count out of all the tight ends on the slate, and he's getting quite a few pass targets. 5, 6, and 6 pass targets in the last 3 games. He's projected at 8.4 fantasy points here on Thanksgiving, and he's only $3,500 DraftKings salary and $1,500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 46 points scored in this game, with the Washington football team trailing by 3. So great matchup, passing game script, low ownership. This is another player that will make your lineup different in this 2-game slate, who's got some upside. So I like Logan Thomas here versus the Dallas Cowboys.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.